Welcome to WLNM, the web novel and manga review, hosted by Zeke Changuris.
Welcome to WLNM, the web light novel and manga review, the podcast dedicated to bringing our listeners the artists and writers that are part of this renaissance of creativity, giving us stories to entertain and inspire us. We'd like to welcome Hatsu Saru, the author of original English light novel, I Became a Girl to Win the Tournament. Welcome to the podcast.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning. So, interesting title you got there. So tell us a little bit, give us a little plot summary of what you got.
Well, it is about the story of one Reiji Arai, and he is kind of your stereotypical neat otaku. He doesn't really have too much in terms of life goals.
Okay.
He just wants to be lazy and watch anime, read manga. And he lives with his roommate, who's his childhood friend, a girl by the name of Psyche, and she is kind of I guess sharp-tongued. She likes to take digs at him, and
Okay.
so she's also very kind of, I guess you could say, melancholy. So she doesn't really display emotions very often. She's not as stoic as a lot of the characters that you might see in, other stories. But she keeps herself pretty reserved in terms of emotions. And what happens is they find themselves taken to another world, basically isekai, but it's not a fantasy world. It's actually pretty reminiscent to ours. It's just that the population is pretty out of whack with it being a predominantly female population. And men are basically treated as lesser individuals, I guess you could say. They just kind of handle like menial labor. But the premise, it revolves around the fact that he is required to win. Sorry, excuse me, sounding like I went through puberty just then. He is required to win a global professional wrestling tournament, but he doesn't find out until after agreeing that it is for women only.
Okay. All right. We all have different dreams.
Apparently that is his.
Yeah.
No, actually he's pretty he doesn't like it once he finds out. So he's pretty high strung about it.
So what got you started at writing? Are you one of those guys? Were you like me? I started writing like the moment started creating stories as soon as I could, verbalize things. Was that your kind of thing, or were you more of a creator later?
I mean, I guess I've always, like, for lack of a better word, like fantasized, about different stories. I made stuff up in my head ever, since I was little. I didn't actually start putting them down on paper until I was maybe about like 14 or so.
Okay.
And gosh, that was on a old computer. Let's just say that it was with a dot matrix printer. So
Understand.
And yeah, so it started out, of course, just like little tiny short stories. And this actually is the first time that I've done something that's longer form. So it's actually I've actually kind of plotted it out to be a series here to
okay.
go pretty far.
All right. Did is it that plotting out? Is that something that you did you create? Is it a very rigid plot structure that you plotted out, or is it, do you create more of a generalized framework?
It's not rigid at all.
Okay.
I'll be honest with you, the story started out completely different from what it ended up as. I've kind of got it plotted out maybe about like 4 or 5 volumes ahead right now, kind of in my head. And just I go with like a general idea of what is going to happen, and then once I sit down and I start writing, I'll make a brief little outline of each of the chapters, and um, as I actually start writing it out, though, I mean, things will change, and I'll have to go back and do rewrites, obviously. But it doesn't. The end product does not necessarily follow what I had originally planned.
Well, that's kind of the fun of a lot of it, is that sometimes their stories take us places that we don't intend for them to go.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, it totally did not even start out as what it is now.
Is that alternative reality something you're willing to share?
Um, it started out kind of honestly, it started out more of like a steampunk type
Okay.
story. It totally did not even have the tournament thing involved in it. It was, I'll be honest with you, it was kind of like a generic type of isekai that
Okay.
was just in the steampunk world.
All right. Hey, they all start somewhere. We aren't, and sometimes those turns take us to where we were least expected, but they're also the most surprising and wonderful things. So, in this universe that you've created, what is what is it about this universe that you think kind of stands out? I mean, yeah, it's kind of well, gender swapped in that the dominant women tend to dominate men, but is there something that kind of jumps out at you if you're going to tell someone this is why you need to visit this universe? What are you going to tell them?
Oh, goodness. Why would you want to visit? And I guess there is the typical, male fantasy of being, one of the few men surrounded by women. But I mean, that would be dashed pretty quickly once they find out how men are basically treated in this world. So I don't think that that would be a real big selling point on the tourism industry.
Okay. All right. So, um, when you're writing, my this is like one of my favorite questions.
Mhm.
Do you ever feel like you're writing yourself into a corner, or do you find that you've written yourself into a corner?
Oh, good Lord, yes. Oh, yes, yes, yes. The volume that the first volume that just released, there were a couple of times where um, I actually was left thinking for a few days of how am I getting out of this? I've built this up, and I could go back and change it, but I don't want to, because I like what led up to this. But then, yeah, I was like left trying to figure out where to go, and I hope that I got myself out of it okay.
Yeah. Well,
So
is it one of those you kind of need to let it as they say, set on the saucer for a bit to cool down, and then come back to it when you're
yeah,
feeling stuck?
yeah. Like I said, I kind of stewed on it for a couple of days, just because I wasn't sure where to go with it or how to handle it, I should say. And actually, I'm working on volume 2 right now, and I kind of ran into that doing writing volume 2 as well. So still haven't quite figured it out.
So how much do your characters lead you through the story, or do you kind of like you're more like God and being like, yeah, you're going to go to this point at this time, or do your characters themselves have a lot of impact as they evolve?
I would say, hmm, I, gosh, I would say it's kind of a mixture of both almost. I don't know if that's possible.
Okay.
It's just like, I mean, I do let the characters kind of lead the way, but I like trying to guide them as well. it's hard to explain. I don't really know how to explain it.
Okay, okay. I kind of, though I do kind of understand what you're saying. You know,
Okay.
you've given them the route. You know, you're saying
Yeah.
your ultimate goal is to get from point A to point B, but in a lot of ways, the way you are reacting to certain situations will tell us how you get there.
Yeah, yeah. It's like I kind of let them figure it out on their own. So, but like you said, it's like I know the end destination, but they just kind of have to get themselves there.
Yeah, which is one of those weird things that people who write understand and others don't, because yes, our characters do have minds of their own. They
Hmm.
are they are they are technically, you know, in our head, but you know, they have like their own little CPU, little
As
section of
as
brain that
as
operates.
twisted as it can be.
Yeah, yes, exactly. So, have you ever written something that absolutely surprises you? Have you have you written something and you're like, oh my God, I didn't think of this, but this is absolutely brilliant.
Brilliant, no.
Brilliant.
Surprise me, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Don't know if I can say this. You might need to bleep it out, but porn.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's been a long time though. So that was back at that age of 14 when I said that I was writing. So it was, the whole thing of hormones.
Yeah, that can surprise surprise many of us who aren't ready.
Yeah, it
Uh,
kind of surprised my parents when they found it.
yeah. So, um, your early endeavors into hentai.
Yeah, I don't really want to go into a full blown conversation on that.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Uh, now, what 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 is your favorite kind of scene? What do you think what do you think your strong suit is? Are you a dialogue guy? Are you a world building guy? Are you uh, a character just good narration? What is your strong suit? What do you think your strong suit is?
um, I mean, I'm just honestly so new to, trying to tell a longer form story. So it's hard for myself to say. I've been told that apparently I'm good at writing the action pieces.
Okay,
Um,
that's
so
great because I suck at writing action.
I mean, but I'll be honest, like I said, I mean, I don't know since I'm so new to it, so I'm just kind of going by what I've been told. It could be wrong.
Well, uh, when you think about action, is it one of those things you struggle to write, or is it just kind of flow out of your,
It just
flow
kind of
as
goes. It
yeah,
just kind of, yeah, it just kind of happens. It's like I'm just visualizing the thing, visualizing it in my head.
okay,
And the hardest thing is, trying to get it written so that way the reader can visualize it.
okay,
Um, I hope that I do a good job of that. I mean, it's like one of my early readers. I mean, he said that he was, really able to visualize everything happening, and um, there was like a shorter like story that I wrote as a that was set in the same world. Just kind of as a little bit of a taste for him to get an idea. And he said that, it kind of made him a bit uncomfortable with, how um, violent it was. So I
okay,
was like, okay, I guess that's a good thing.
yeah. I mean, we all do have our strong suits, and yeah, it's a not always, but if we're lucky, those strong suits end up being, what we can. They come easy and they're good. For some of
Mhm,
us, we think something's because it came easy is good, and then our readers get a hold of it and they're like, yeah, let's try this again because I
mhm,
know what you're thinking. As my
mhm,
wife says, I know what you're thinking, but that's not what you said on the page.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, yeah. So hopefully all of you guys out there that do decide to read it, that you take it easy on me a little bit.
Hey, um, let's see. What are you a big reader, or do you read a lot, or is there some author out there that you kind of you either subconsciously think you are trying to emulate, or you consciously are trying to be like, you know what, I'd love to write like them.
I do read quite a bit. Um, I don't have any room left on my shelves. Um, they're full of novels and manga. As far as like writers that I like, I'm a big fan of the Monogatari series.
Okay.
Uh, I don't have any you know illusions that I could even come close to writing like Nishio Isin. I mean, he is a god in my eyes. Nobody can write dialogue like he can, and I'm for somebody to make a 80-page chapter that is just a single conversation between two characters. So and to have it actually be a page turner, I don't understand how he can do that, but he does.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know I'm in the minority here, but I have found that I don't think that I don't think his writing style has translated as well to anime as a lot of people. I mean, there are those who absolutely love the stories, but I'm like, it is a lot of conversation.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, I'm in the same boat as you. I've tried numerous times to watch the Monogatari series, and I don't know, I just can't get into it.
Yeah, there's not enough. You have a visual medium.
Yeah.
Use the visual medium to tell the story. I mean, I love dialogue. I love great dialogue. I love pithy dialogue. I love fast-paced dialogue. I'm not anti-dialogue, but there's just changing from silhouette to uh, silhouettes to angles of different buildings isn't enough to keep me visually interested while this conversation is going on. It may
Yeah.
make it easier for the animators, but it's just not doing it for me as I try and watch it.
I think that the animators were really trying to go for kind of, I mean, I don't really know how to, like an artsy type feel for it.
Avant-garde.
Yes, avant-garde. That's what I was looking for. Yeah, I mean, they wanted to try and get a visual representation of his writing style. And I don't know, it is so different from reading it and visualizing it all in my head
Right.
to having, somebody else's presentation placed in front of me.
Yeah. I mean, I and I'll say this till I'm blue in the face because I'm such a big fan, but I really love the How to Raise a Boring Girlfriend series. I've
I have
loved
not seen.
both anime are great. I'm waiting for them to release the film that is the conclusion in the United States so I can finally see it. And what I like about it is I like to think and he would probably roll over, well, he's not dead yet, but if basically I think that the dialogue sounds like Aaron Sorkin. It's quick, it's pithy, you have the side comment that just fits perfectly with good timing, that fits into the larger conversation. And it's funny. If Aaron Sorkin were to write an anime, this would be it. And I love it for that. But yeah, so I really do enjoy dialogue, but I don't think they overdo it. It doesn't feel like massive amounts of exposition.
Yeah, that is one of the series that I've had on my list to watch for quite some time. I'm more of a manga reader than I am an anime watcher.
Yeah.
So my anime watch list is immensely huge, and I know that I'll probably never get to it all. Similar to like, oh my gosh, like my Netflix queue, not just including anime. It's like probably about like, I don't know when they stop you from adding stuff, but I'm sure that I hit it a while ago.
Yeah, the well, what's a manga that you're reading, or one that you keep going back to reread that you really
Oh,
enjoy?
oh goodness. I am really enjoying the Comey Can't Communicate series right now. Um, I'm big on comedies and romantic comedies actually.
Okay. Hey,
So yeah, Comey Can't Communicate. Um, Quintessential Quintuplets.
okay.
Uh, and but I also I have this addiction to, and it seems like it's pretty common, but Promise Neverland.
Yeah, if one of my students started watching that the other day, and he's asking me all these, he's like, "Do you know this one?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Do you know what? Can you believe what's going?" I'm like, "Yeah." Well, so what happens? I'm like, "I'm not telling." Like, I'm not telling you what happens.
No, didn't the I think didn't the manga series end, or it's
Yes,
ending
the
soon?
manga series has ended.
Okay, in Japan they haven't. See, I've been waiting for the US the official US
Yeah,
translations. So
yeah. The if you have access to, if you subscribe to Show and Jump
mhm,
online,
mhm,
they put out the chapters by chapter,
mhm, mhm.
and it and then they later put it back together. But I think a bigger question here. So, which one is best Quint?
Oh, that's a no-brainer for me, Miku.
Okay, all right. There are a lot of Nino fans out there.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Yeah,
I know. It seems like Nino and Miku are the two most popular ones.
yeah. Which is interesting because the first one we're introduced to, you get a feeling like, she's going to be the focus,
Mhm, mhm.
and like, no, that's just not how it seems to go. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm just wondering if the creator had to adjust his story based on the audience feedback.
Sometimes I think that really is what happens, and I know that happens. I know that has happened. I'm trying to remember which series I was interviewing. Not the creators for Grid. No, they were the creators for Gridman. The creators, but it was about, RE creators.
Mhm.
Um, and they said that, when they were putting it, when they after they got a few episodes in, they altered some of the story because they're by the response that they were getting. And I guess that's the beauty of the fact that, they're only, like 3 episodes ahead in the, things are airing, and
Mhm.
they're still producing the anime, so they can make adjustments as the story progresses, depending on how the audience is reacting to things. So
Mhm.
yeah, but
Yeah,
in
that's nice to see. That's nice to see. I mean, that they're able to make that change. I mean,
yeah, especially if it's an original story.
no,
um
and that I mean they listen to the fans.
yes.
So, and it's, I mean, we had that case with the Sonic movie.
Yes.
It went
Yes.
from creepy looking Sonic to actually something that looked like Sonic. God, that thing was
Yes,
hideous.
it was scary.
That was, yeah,
Yes,
that was nightmare fuel.
it was the same as you just put that next to Pennywise, and that is someone's version of hell. So
I did not like the It movie. I only saw the first one. I only saw the first one. I didn't see the second because I really did not
well,
like
the
the.
original scared the pants off me so badly I refused to go see the new one.
Oh, the corny one with the John Boy from the Waltons.
Yeah, so I remember watching that, and it scared the hell out of me as a kid, and I was like, nope, nope. My wife likes Stephen King and such, and I'm like, all right, you can watch it. Nope, that's a big ball of nope. I don't need
No,
that
no.
trauma.
Now, speaking of King, did you see? Have you seen Doctor Sleep?
Yeah, I saw Doctor Sleep. What I really enjoyed, even though it's not actually King, is Castle Rock.
I have not watched that. I've been meaning to.
It's really interesting. Both seasons were pretty cool. The first one is, I'm trying to remember what that's focused on. The I can't remember the best way to articulate the first one because it seemed more like an original story, but there's so many like things that you hearken to all his other stories. Now, the
Hmm.
second season of Castle Rock was totally the story of Anne, uh, the not Anne, Anne, well, Kathy Bates's character in, it's the backstory behind Kathy Bates's character in Misery,
Okay.
and
Okay.
it was very very interesting. It really was very interesting. Talks about Salem's Lot, things like that. It's so those two shows, 2 seasons were really interesting, especially if you know about the Stephen King universe and can pull things. You know, you're like, oh, that character that came from that show, that book, and yeah,
Hmm.
it's really cool. They do a good job of tying a lot of threads together.
And what was it that because Hulu had that mini series with James Franco where he that was a King story. Gosh, I can't remember the name of it. It was like 60s something.
Oh, 19, it's 68. It's like the year
I
that
think it,
Kennedy was killed.
Kennedy, yeah, because he goes back in time to
Yeah,
try and stop it.
yeah.
But I liked the ending, the little Easter egg at the ending. And I don't know if you've watched the series and caught it, but it was like one of the last scenes in the
Huh.
series, and he's like on the sidewalk, and this guy rides by on his bicycle, and if I remember correctly, he like almost hits him. And you only see him from the back, but he's wearing like the jean jacket and he's got the long blonde hair that's kind of curly. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's the guy from the Stand miniseries.
Uh, you mean Captain Jack?
The main like antagonist in the
Yeah,
miniseries.
the what's his name? Shoot. Yes, I
I
know
can't
who you're
remember.
talking about. The devil, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So he like rides by on a bicycle, and I was like, "Hey, that's a nice little Easter egg."
Well, think about with the Stand. I know we're getting way off topic here, but with the Stand, um, my wife is like, oh, they're creating a new mini series of it, and I'm like, yeah, but look at the old cast.
Hmm.
Gary Sinise
Hmm. Hmm.
was in it. Um, you have all these like really good actors, and you're like, wow,
Hmm.
this was a mini series.
Yeah, yeah. I've only seen one trailer, and it might be the only trailer that's out there for the new miniseries, and I've only watched it once. And I'm
Flag.
of
His
I'm
name was Flag.
what's that?
Flag was
Flag was the antagonist.
yes, his last
Oh,
name
okay,
was Flag.
okay. Yeah, I haven't seen it in a while. But I'm one of the people that I'm of the standpoint that if the original is still good, don't do a remake.
Okay. Except they're like, quarantine disease.
Money.
Yeah, let's see how we can scare the crap out of more people. Um, this is why I tend to like retreat into my light novels and my manga and my anime.
Yeah, there you go.
And when you find Guilty Crown being too close to home, you need to step back for a minute. Okay. Thank you very much for talking with me this morning, and we'll make sure to take a look. Your book is on Amazon and at hatsusaru.com. We can follow you at Hatsusaru on Twitter. It will appear written out on the YouTube version of this podcast. I also know that, and I say this a lot, it's exciting right now. It's exciting to be in a age where the barriers to people getting their stories out there have been lowered. So every creator's voice gets to be heard. And that's one of the reasons I do this, is because I think every one of us needs that encouragement to get out and share our stories. We need to uh, make sure people know our stories are out there. So they can inspire us to create our own. So I hope if you're listening, you like what you're listening to, you can take time to subscribe to WLNM, and where we hope to continue to highlight the best the independent creators have to offer. Until next time, keep reading.
This has been a WLNM podcast.